Welcome to our first Breaking Bread conversation. We're so glad that you tuned in with us this evening. I want to introduce my friends that we'll be chatting with. We'll start over here.
I'm Joe Baram.
I'm Darren Graves.
Rob Smith.
Obi Stillwell.
And I'm Jocelyn Armstrong, and I'll try to lead us through this conversation. We also have someone else joining us, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Lopez.
Thanks for being with us. So we want to get started. We hear a lot about origin stories, especially in this age where people are so into comics. Rob, can you tell us about the origin story of Breaking Bread?
So in September of 2016, there was some stuff going on in Charlotte, specifically Keith Scott. And I was watching CNN just like everybody else, and it hit me, and it hit me pretty hard. And I was trying to process my thoughts, process my feelings. Went to work the next day, dropped Trey off at school, and got to the office parking lot, and I just couldn't go in. So I stayed in the car, did something that was kind of very uncharacteristic. I did a Facebook Live video where I just kind of shared some thoughts about what was going on, some initial feelings that I had.
So last night, I watched my home city, the city that raised me, look like it was a war zone, and it disturbed me. And there's been a lot of things going on in the country that have caused a heightened emotion. And I've kind of sat back and tried to think about how do I convey my feelings and my thoughts and my emotions, and what could I do? And often is the case, we sit back and wait and hope that change will come, and fail to realize that we can be, as cliche as it sounds, we can be the change that we want to see. And I'm not saying that I have the solutions or the answers, but I definitely am going to put foot to ground to try to do something, to contribute to the culture, to try to make an impact. I just dropped Trey off at school, and you start to really think about, could that be the last time that I see him? I'm reminded of the words of MLK, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I think, clearly this is a divisive thing that's going on within the country. And I have friends that I grew up with, co-workers, colleagues, guys that I play ball with and just hang out with, and there's lots of thoughts and ideas, and many people are looking at this very differently. But I welcome us to have a conversation, to don't let our differences continue to feed into the things that are going on. So those that have my number, hit me up, let's talk. Like I said, I don't know what or how, I just know something has to be done. So for those of you guys that are, believers, keep praying. Today, I'm wearing my Charlotte shirt, hoping that it provokes conversations with some of my colleagues. Those that support, just like I said, keep words of encouragement there. Thanks for all, and let's try to make a difference. Peace.
Went into work after I prayed a little bit, and was guided to talk with one of the managers, HR managers. Her and I had a really, really good conversation, and upon completing that conversation, went back to work, got out of work that day, and had a whole lot of voicemails, text messages, Facebook posts, checking in, Rob, you okay? I didn't realize that, so many people have really been, I guess, impacted by what I had shared. A few of us, Joe, Darren, got on the phone, and then we met up at Panera Bread, and kind of the rest is history.
So as a young Black man in America, you work in an industry that's primarily female dominated. You went to college in the South and grew up part of your life there. Why is this your conversation to have, to talk about building bridges and talking about equality and race relations?
I think the biggest piece that really made it, I guess, my conversation to have where I felt some ownership is often when things are going on TV, a common phrase that I would hear at work is, "But Rob, you're different," without the context of really understanding that I was born in the South Bronx. My dad was in the military. He raised me in North Carolina. And had it not been for some opportunities that presented themselves and some decisions that I made and some decisions I didn't make, I might too be one of them stories. So that's why I feel the ownership of saying, at this point in my life and my career, really, trying to be that movement, be that call to action, as opposed to waiting on them to fix it.
So Joe and Darren, you guys were kind of with Rob from the beginning. What was so compelling about the video that Rob posted and then the conversation that you had after that said, I want to be a part of this movement?
But to see Rob express emotion, and it wasn't soft. It was just a grown man expressing some emotion about a situation that happened in both home state. I just felt like, hey, I wanted to see exactly what was going on, and also to know the fact that Rob has access and connections with people, a diverse group of people, and it's not coming from just a simple or single demographic. He's exposed to a number of people, different professions, different people, walks of life, and being able to just have some conversation with them was what intrigued me.
For me, it was the morning after Charlotte. I was walking about 5 a.m. and I was listening to gospel music, and I was trying to get my mind off of everything that was going on. And then for some reason, I don't remember the video, but I remember calling Rob. Rob called me. It was early, and he was like, we want to do something. So for me, I always felt like I couldn't do anything because you need to do something big. It's got to be huge. Not realizing that if we all take our little small steps to get to something greater, then we can make it happen. So when he called me, I was more than happy to get on board. I got tired of seeing what was going on around us, and I think that we can make a change. So.
And Ovi, you are recently introduced to Breaking Bread. And what about this was intriguing to you?
Just the fact that there was dialogue and communication, and that the dialogue was not just between people of color, but people in general. And so that interests me because that's so important. The dialogue, listening, is a powerful thing, and it created an atmosphere for people to speak, and more importantly, for people to listen.
Michelle, why was Breaking Bread compelling to you?
It was really compelling for me because I remember I work with Rob in the fashion industry, and I remember going with him to a happy hour, and we were sitting there talking about just everything going on in the world with all the problems. And I remember telling him how it was hard to go into work some days knowing what's going on in the world. And he said, well, I want to help change the world, help create speaking and open dialogue. And to me, it's just it's saying to me what we needed in this world more of, and more connections to everybody. And it just really resonated with me. And it, right when he himself went through it, just really got me to say, yeah, that's exactly what we need in this world. And that's what I need in my life to help create more progress.
And how many people actually have an opportunity to sit at a table and simply talk to understand? Like, many of us don't have that type of opportunity. Many of us have a certain small niche group of people that we can communicate with, and we already know their perspectives. They already agree with our biases. But when you're talking about bringing a diverse group of people physically in a location and having a conversation, and we're not trying to argue a point, but we're only trying to understand exactly what each other or where each other come from, you can't beat that. I mean, worst case scenario, you walk away shaking hands and respecting somebody. And I mean, that's valueless to me.
I think the big piece is that being intentional. And I think that was the big piece of, as we've kind of been going on the journey together is being intentional in those conversations. And I think, one of the things in doing these Wednesday Instagram posts, there was one post that I put on that really resonated with me. Be brave enough to have a conversation that matters. And I think for me, that has been kind of the token understone of me being intentional in everything and being brave enough to step out and have those intentional conversations and really getting to a place that, okay, I may gain some perspective and understanding, and I may still never agree with you, and that's okay. We don't have to be as divided. We can really engage in those fruitful conversations and walk away with a better understanding of each other.